They laughed first. The sound echoed through the gym like the slap of sneakers on polished wood. Sharp, quick, cruel. Mia could still hear it in her ears as she stood frozen, the basketball rolling away from her trembling hands, bouncing once, twice, then dying quietly near the bleachers. Her shot had missed, not by much, but enough to draw laughter from half her team and whispers from the rest. "Nice try, superstar," someone snickered. Another voice added, "Guess the scholarship scout's gonna love that one." The coach blew his whistle, too impatient to notice the sting in Mia's eyes. "Run it again," he barked, tossing another ball her way. But she didn't move. Her heart pounded hard in her chest, louder than the chatter, louder than the squeak of shoes, louder than everything. For a moment, it felt like the gym was shrinking around her, the walls pressing in, the air heavy. All she could think about was how her dad used to tell her, "Pressure doesn't break you, sweetheart. It shows you." But right now, it was breaking her. That miss had meant everything. Today wasn't just another school practice. It was the day the Navy SEALs were visiting for a charity exhibition. A few veterans sat watching from the sidelines, their dark blue uniforms crisp and gleaming under the lights. Among them was a tall man with a gray beard and calm eyes, Captain Ryland Hayes. The students whispered about him like he was a legend, which in a way he was. He'd led missions overseas, saved lives, commanded teams in places most people couldn't even pronounce. And he was sitting right there watching Mia blow her one big moment. As practice ended, her teammates walked past her, high-fiving each other, throwing glances that burned. Mia gathered her bag quietly, eyes on the floor. But then she felt it, a presence. She looked up to see Captain Hayes standing near the court, hands clasped behind his back. "You've got a good arm," he said simply. Mia blinked. "I just missed." "Yeah," he said, his voice calm. "But you took the shot." Something in his tone made her pause. It wasn't flattery. It wasn't pity. It was understanding. The kind that only comes from someone who's missed a few shots of his own. Before she could say anything, the coach called everyone together. "All right, listen up. Tomorrow's the charity event. We're splitting teams. Students versus SEALs. Friendly match. Don't embarrass yourselves." The group laughed, except Mia. She glanced back at Captain Hayes, but he was already walking away, his boots echoing softly down the hallway. That night, Mia couldn't sleep. The image of that missed shot replayed in her head over and over. She kept seeing the ball hit the rim, the laughter that followed, the look on Hayes's face, steady, unreadable. She sat up around 2 a.m., staring at her old basketball in the corner. Her dad used to rebound for her when he was alive. He'd been a Marine before cancer took him. And every time she missed, he'd just say, "Shoot again, Mia. The rim doesn't care who you are. It only cares how much you want it." She got out of bed, grabbed her hoodie, and slipped outside. The neighborhood court was empty, wet with dew, the chain-link fence rattling in the wind. The streetlights buzzed faintly, casting long shadows across the cracked asphalt. She started shooting. 1. Miss. 2. Miss. 3. Swish. She kept going until her arms ached, until her breath came in gasps. She didn't stop until the first streaks of dawn painted the sky pink. By morning, her hands were blistered, but her mind was clear. When she walked into the gym for the charity game, everyone noticed something different in her. The way she carried herself, quiet but focused. Even the coach seemed surprised. The bleachers were full this time, packed with students, parents, veterans, and local reporters. The Navy SEALs team entered in matching black shirts, laughing among themselves. Captain Hayes was last, his calm eyes scanning the court like a man reading a map. The whistle blew. The game began. At first, the students were getting crushed. The SEALs were faster, stronger, sharper, not surprising for elite soldiers. But Mia kept her head down, guarding, passing, finding small openings. Then, midway through the second quarter, something strange happened. One of the SEALs, a huge guy with tattooed arms, tripped, twisting his ankle. The game paused. Hayes called for a sub, but Mia stepped forward before anyone else could move. "You okay?" she asked him quietly. The man grimaced. "Yeah, kid. Just old bones." She smiled faintly. "I know a thing or two about bad landings." He laughed, wincing, and nodded. That tiny moment, kindness in the middle of chaos, didn't go unnoticed. Hayes was watching her again. The game resumed. And somehow the energy shifted. Mia started making plays, smooth, smart ones. She wasn't trying to show off, she was trying to connect. Her passes found open hands. Her defense tightened. The crowd began to notice her rhythm. By the last quarter, the score was tight. Then it happened again, 30 seconds on the clock. The score tied. Mia got the ball at the top of the key. The entire gym went silent. It was just like before. Same spot, same moment. Her hands trembled. The memory of laughter hovered at the edge of her mind. She hesitated, and then from the corner of her eye she saw him. Captain Hayes, standing by the bench, watching her not like a coach, but like someone waiting to see who she'd decide to be. Her breath steadied. She dribbled once, twice, jumped, released. The ball soared, spinning slow, cutting through the lights. And this time it hit the rim once, twice, and bounced out. The buzzer screamed. She'd missed again. The gym exploded in noise. Cheers, laughter, chatter. Her teammates groaned. "You've got to be kidding me," someone said. Mia just stood there, staring at the hoop. Her throat felt tight. She wanted to disappear. But before she could move, something unexpected happened. Captain Hayes walked onto the court. The noise died instantly. The SEALs turned, watching their captain stride past them. He stopped right in front of Mia. For a second, she thought he was going to say something. Maybe console her, maybe joke. But he didn't. He raised his hand slowly and saluted. The gym fell completely silent. The only sound was the faint squeak of the scoreboard resetting. Hayes's eyes locked on hers, steady and proud. Mia froze. He lowered his hand, leaned closer, and said quietly enough for only her to hear, "You didn't come here to win. You came here to stand back up." Her breath caught in her chest. Then he turned and walked away. The crowd just stared, confused, murmuring. No one laughed now. Mia didn't move for a long time. Something inside her, something she didn't know she'd been holding back for years, cracked open. But what happened next changed everything. Mia didn't sleep that night either. But this time it wasn't from regret. It was from something deeper. Her mind replayed that moment on the court again and again. The silence, the salute, the way Captain Hayes's eyes had met hers, not as a soldier to a student, but as one fighter to another. By morning, the video had gone viral. Someone in the stands had filmed it. The missed shot, the laughter fading into hush, the SEAL captain's salute. The clip spread like wildfire across social media. SEAL captain salutes high school player. After missed shot, read the headlines. There were debates in the comments, people arguing about what it meant. Some said it was respect for courage. Others said it was a lesson in failure. But none of them knew what really happened, what he actually said to her. When Mia got to school, people stared at her differently. No one laughed this time. A few even patted her shoulder awkwardly, as if unsure what to say. But she didn't care about any of that. She wanted to understand why a man like Captain Hayes, who had led missions, who'd seen real courage, would salute her after a missed basket. That afternoon, she found him at the Veterans Outreach Center near the pier. He was sitting outside, coffee in hand, looking out over the gray ocean. He noticed her before she spoke. "Didn't think you'd come," he said, without turning around. "I needed to know," she said softly. "Why did you do that?" He took a sip of coffee and gestured for her to sit. "Because everyone else saw a miss," he said, "but I saw something different." Mia frowned. "What? A second failure?" He smiled faintly. "No, a soldier." She blinked. "Sir, I'm just—" "You stood there," he interrupted. "After you missed? After they laughed? You didn't run off? You faced it? Most people don't realize how hard that is. In my line of work, the ones who freeze after a mistake, they don't last. The ones who stand back up do." The words hit her harder than she expected. For years, she'd tried to live up to something: her father's legacy, her coach's expectations, her teammates' standards. And in one missed shot, one humiliating moment, she'd thought she'd lost it all. But maybe that wasn't the point. Hayes continued, his voice steady. "I've buried men who never got to take a second shot. You did. That's worth a salute." Mia felt her eyes sting. She didn't want to cry, but her throat tightened anyway. "I don't think I deserve that kind of respect," she whispered. He nodded slowly. "That's exactly why you do." They sat in silence for a while, the sea wind carrying gull cries across the docks. Then Hayes said, "You know, your dad and I served on the same deployment once." Her head snapped up. "You knew my dad?" He nodded. "Sergeant Daniel Keller. Toughest Marine I ever met. Always talked about his little girl who could outshoot him at the free throw line." Mia's heart twisted. She hadn't heard his name spoken like that in years. "He used to tell me that," she said quietly. "He said the rim doesn't care who you are, only how much you want it." Hayes smiled. "That sounds like him." Then his face softened. "He saved my life once. Pulled me out after a roadside blast. Never let me thank him properly. I figured maybe that salute was overdue." For a moment she couldn't speak. The world seemed to still, the waves, the gulls, the hum of the harbor. "He never told me that," she finally said. "He wouldn't," Hayes replied. "Men like him don't brag. They just do the right thing and move on." That night, as Mia walked home, she looked up at the sky, the same sky her dad used to point at when they shot hoops together. She thought about what Hayes had said, about how courage wasn't loud. It wasn't about medals or perfect scores or being the best. It was about standing up again when you've fallen in front of everyone. A week later, the school announced that the Navy SEALs had invited Mia to speak at a local veterans fundraiser. She almost said no. What could she possibly say to a room full of people who'd seen real battles? But then she remembered that salute, not as a reward, but as a challenge. The night of the event, the hall was full. Reporters, veterans, students, everyone was there. Hayes sat in the front row, his cap folded neatly in his lap. When Mia stepped on stage, her hands shook, but she started talking anyway. "I missed a shot," she began, and everyone laughed. "I thought that moment defined me. But then someone reminded me that missing isn't failure. Quitting is." She paused, glancing at Hayes. "Courage isn't about never falling. It's about standing up again, even when it hurts, even when everyone's watching." Her voice wavered, but didn't break. "My dad taught me that. And last week, a SEAL reminded me." The crowd was quiet, and then the applause started. Slow, rising, echoing off the walls like waves hitting the shore. Hayes didn't clap at first. He stood. Then, just like in the gym, he raised his hand in a silent salute. The rest of the veterans followed, row by row, until the whole room was standing. Mia swallowed hard, blinking back tears. She returned the salute, her hand trembling but steady enough. When the event ended, Hayes met her backstage. "You did good, Keller," he said with a rare smile. "Your dad would have been proud." She looked down, then back up, grinning through tears. "You think so?" He nodded once. "I know so." From that night on, something in Mia changed. She still practiced, still played, still missed shots sometimes, but she never flinched again. Her teammates noticed. Her coach did too. The laughter that once followed her mistakes faded, replaced by quiet respect. Months later, she got a letter in the mail. It was from the Naval Academy, an athletic scholarship offer. At the bottom, in careful handwriting, was a single note: "Keep taking the shot. R." She smiled, folded the letter neatly, and tucked it into the same box that held her dad's old dog tags. Years later, when she walked across a stage in a crisp uniform of her own, the crowd cheered, but through the noise she saw only one face: an older man in the front row, hand raised once again in silent salute. And this time, she didn't just stand tall, she saluted back, steady, proud, unshaken. Because in the end, the shot she missed wasn't the one that defined her. It was the one that taught her what it meant to rise. Sometimes, the world measures you by what you win. But the ones who truly see you, the ones who've been through battles of their own, they measure you by how you stand after you fall. And that, more than anything, is what makes a person worth saluting.